Death row is the literal term used to describe the state of awaiting execution. The United States, which is the only Western country that still applies the death penalty as capital punishment, houses inmates awaiting their execution after being sentenced. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video for more. FACTFEED presents 5 famous last meals on death row. Number 5. 1 olive. Victor Fagay, a man convicted of kidnapping and murder, was sentenced to death by hanging in the state of Iowa. At the age of 28, he was the last man put to death in the state of Iowa. To make the long story short, Fagay arrived in Iowa during the 60s and killed a doctor in order to get drugs. Since state lines were involved, Fagay was charged on the federal level. At the time, John F. Kennedy was the only one who could reduce the penalty. However, it was denied. In Hargreaves' No Seconds collection of inmate last meals, Fagay's simple request of a single olive with a pit inside is not only a personal favorite of the photographers, but he is quoted as saying, "It's just such a polarizing image. We think about last meals and it is something that's going to be totally gluttonous. And then he just has a single olive. You know, it's so simple, beautiful and kind of final. It's like a full stop at the end of his life." Number 4. You shall not pass. Ronnie Lee Garner, an American criminal who received the death penalty by firing squad in 1985, killed a man during a robbery in Salt Lake City, Utah. When he was being moved to a court hearing, Garner fatally shot an attorney in an attempt to escape. He was convicted on 2 counts of murder, got sentenced to life imprisonment, and received the death penalty. Garner's death penalty acquired some media attention because, at this time, it's been about 14 years since the US carried out a punishment in this fashion. Garner personally requested this execution based on his religious beliefs. He was 49. His other request was his last meal. Garner requested a steak paired with a lobster tail, a slice of apple pie, and some vanilla ice cream. He also requested the Lord of the Rings movie so he could watch the film while eating his hefty last meal. Number 3. A clown's meal. For those who don't know who John Wayne Gacy was, let me just give you some insight into a true monster clown. Gacy was responsible for 33 counts of murder. Gacy was an American serial killer who murdered his victims, teenage boys and young men, during the 70s in Illinois. He would lure his victims, strangle them, and then bury their bodies in his property. He was also well known to dress up as Pogo the Clown because it made him regress in the childhood. Gacy was sentenced to be put to death through lethal injection. He was 52 at the time of his death. For his last meal, Gacy requested exactly 12 fried shrimps, a pile of french fries, 1 pound of strawberries, and interestingly enough, a bucket of KFC's original recipe fried chicken. The last request is interesting because before Gacy went on his violent rampage, he managed a few KFC restaurants. Number 2. I Want Nothing. Nieves Diaz's case was controversial because he pleaded innocent to the last day. The backstory is that he and 2 friends robbed a strip club in Florida. During the robbery, the manager was shot dead, but there was no one to witness the incident. Diaz's girlfriend at the time alerted the police about his involvement. He was tried and convicted, but still claiming his innocence. Nieves Diaz was charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, armed robbery, attempted robbery, and possession of a firearm. The controversy is when a fellow inmate testified that Diaz confessed in his cell that he was guilty, despite Diaz not being able to speak English and Gadges not knowing Spanish. Gadges even confessed that he lied because he was left out of an escape attempt with Nieves, but it was too late. In 2006, Nieves was put to death by lethal injection in Florida. He refused a last meal and refused the prison meal as well. Number 1. I'll Have Everything. Earl Forrest died at the age of 66, and it was the first execution in the state of Missouri in 2016. According to the evidence, Forrest was charged with the killing of 3 people and wounding 2 others. It all went down when Forrest went to one victim's house, demanding the victim to buy a mobile home and a lawn mower in exchange for introducing the victim to a methamphetamine dealer. When the victim refused, Forrest shot the victim, then shot another victim, killing both instantly. Forrest then shot and killed a deputy during a shootout and wounded 2 others, including his then girlfriend. Forrest was killed by lethal injection for his crimes. As his last meal, he requested quite a meal. He ordered a side of pasta, steak, some sliced tomatoes and cucumbers, fruit, chocolate cake, and a glass of milk.